Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, Cedillo, Cogdill, Corbett, Correa, Cox, Denham, DeSaunier, Ducheney, Dutton, Flores, Hancock, Harmon, Hollingsworth, Huff, Kehoe, Leno, Liu, Lowenthal, Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, Price, Romero, Runner, Smidian, Steinberg, Strickland, Walters, Wiggins, Wolk, Wright, Weiland, Yee.
The Secretary notices the absence of a quorum. Sergeants, please close the doors, call in the absent members so that we may proceed with this afternoon's session. We do have a supplemental file that is available to us, and we wish to start taking these up as soon as possible. Members, a quorum is present. Members, we have a supplemental file. Let's go ahead and begin there. Senator Pavley, are you prepared to take up file item 140?
Of course.
Secretary, please read. File item 140 on supplemental file number 1.
Senate Bill 541 by Senator Pavley, an act relating to elections.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam President. Members, Senate Bill 541, which is sponsored by the Secretary of State's office, is back for concurrence. What this bill does is requires ballot and voting system vendors to simply notify the Secretary of State regarding discovered defects in their systems. Surprisingly, California has no procedures or policies in place to notify state and other officials when voting equipment problems occur before or after an election, and there have been real evidence of problems in our election system, not only up in the Humboldt area, but in other parts of California. The Assembly amendments, I want to make this clear, respond to administration and opposition concerns. The inspection fee requirement for ballot printers has been eliminated, so no fees. Adjusting vendor reporting timelines, directing civil penalty revenues to the general fund, and providing better definitions to facilitate vendor disclosure. They've been eliminated. Previous elections have shown what can occur when a voting system does not work correctly, when votes go uncounted or longer than anticipated vote counts. This is an important democracy bill, making sure that when you vote, your vote does count. I ask for your aye vote and support in Assembly amendments for concurrence.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Aye. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Duchesne? Dutton? Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Maldonado? No. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Aye. Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? No. Smidian? Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? No. Yee?
Call the absent members.
Denham, no. Cedillo? Cogdill? Duchesne? Dutton? Flores? Hollingsworth? Lowenthal? Padilla? Price? Smidian? Strickland? Yee?
Ayes 18, noes 10. Senator Pavley moves a call. Senator Leno, are you prepared to take up file item 141? Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 585 by Senator Leno, an act relating to Agricultural District 1A.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, as you may remember, this bill will phase out the gun shows at the Cow Palace as the current contracts expire in 2012. The Assembly amendments simply modified the implementation schedule for shows contracted through the end of 2012. I would ask for your concurrence in the Assembly amendments.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? DeSaulnier? I. Ducheney. Dutton. Flores. Hancock. I. Harmon. No. Hollingsworth. Huff. Kehoe. I. Leno. Liu. Lowenthal. Maldonado. Negrete McLeod. I. Oropesa. I. Padilla. Pavley. I. Price. Romero. I. Runner. Smidian. I. Steinberg. I. Strickland. No. Walters. No. Wiggins. I. Wolk. I.
Call the absent members.
Wright. No. Weiland. No. Yee. Negrete McLeod. I to no. Correa. No. Huff. No. Ashburn. No. Benoit. No.
Call the absent members.
Cedillo. Cogdill. Denham. Ducheney. Dutton. No. Flores. Hollingsworth. Leno. I. Liu. Lowenthal. Maldonado. Padilla. Price. Runner. Yee.
Ayes 14, noes 13. Senator Leno moves a call. Senator Oropesa, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
In order to make motions regarding...
Under motions and resolutions?
Madam President, I move to rescind the action on AB 172 and AB 985.
Without objection, unanimous consent?
Madam President, there are amendments at the desk. I move to suspend Joint Rule 61A13 to amend AB 172 and AB 985.
A roll call is required. Secretary, please call the roll.
Onnested. I. Alquist. I. Ashburn. I. Benoit. I. Calderon. I. Cedillo. Cogdill. Corbett. I. Correa. I. Cox. I. Denham. DeSaulnier. I. Ducheney. I. Dutton. Flores. Hancock. Harmon. I. Hollingsworth. I. Huff. Kehoe. I. Leno. I. Liu. Lowenthal. Maldonado. Negrete McLeod. I. Oropesa. I. Padilla. Pavley. I. Price. Romero.
Aye.
I. Runner. Smidian. I. Steinberg. Strickland. I. Walters. I. Wiggins. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Weiland. Yee. Wiggins. I.
Call the absent members.
Cedillo. Cogdill. Denham. Dutton. I. Flores. Hancock. I. Huff. Liu. Lowenthal. Maldonado. Padilla. Price. Runner. Steinberg. Weiland. Yee. Maldonado. I. Steinberg. I.
Ayes 28, noes 0. The joint rules are suspended. Senator Wolk, are you prepared to take up file item... Senator Hancock, are you prepared to take up file item 107?
Actually, Madam President, I would like to lift the call on a bill.
Give us the bill number, or the file item.
The file item is 107.
107, Secretary, call the absent members. Only the absent members.
Correa, Flores, Pavley, aye. Price, Steinberg, aye. Wiggins, aye. Wright. Wright, aye. Correa, no.
Ayes 24, noes 14. The bill is passed. Senator Wolk, are you prepared to take up file item 143? Passed temporarily. File item 144, Senator DeSaulnier. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 702 by Senator DeSaulnier, enacting to child daycare and making an appropriation therefor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. SB 702, if you remember, was a bill actually came from a constituent who had an incident with her 5-year-old, unfortunately, when she left them in a daycare center at a health club. So we decided to pursue this. Those facilities that offer child care secondarily to their major purpose are currently unlicensed. 702 would require that there be a background check through the trust line registry. The Assembly amendments just made certain that there would be no general fund costs, so that the costs would all be absorbed by the fee. This has had bipartisan support, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, no. Alquist, aye. Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, aye. Cedillo, Cogdill, Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. Cox, no. Denham, no. DeSaulnier, aye. Ducheney, Dutton, aye. Flores, aye. Hancock, aye. Harmon, Hollingsworth, Harmon, no. Hollingsworth, no. Huff, Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, Lowenthal,
Kern.
Maldonado, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, aye. Padilla, Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero, aye. Runner, Smidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, Walters, no. Wiggins, aye. Wolk, aye. Wright, Wyland, Yee, Hollingsworth, no to aye. Wyland, aye. Padilla, aye.
Ayes 23, noes 5. The amendments are concurred in. Senator Alquist, for what purpose do you rise?
Yes, I'd like to present file 150.
Members, without objection, we're going to move to file item 150. Right after this, Senator Alquist is going to call a meeting of Health and Human Services. File item 150. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 43 by Senator Alquist, an act relating to joint powers agencies.
Thank you, Madam President and members. SB 43 is a district bill that simply provides a legislative option to the City of Santa Clara to help expedite the construction of the first new football stadium in the state in over 40 years. The bill is permissive, and nothing in the bill mandates anything. Specifically, SB 43 gives the City of Santa Clara the legislative option of building the 49ers' new football stadium under a mix of public and private contracting law. Because this football stadium is a unique public works project with a unique public-private partnership funding, and because the team will be responsible for any cost overruns, SB 43 provides the city the authority to use a non-bid design build method to select the general contractor for the project. This bill only applies to the specific economic stimulus project, which is expected to generate some 5,000 permanent jobs and 2,000 construction jobs. I want to emphasize that SB 43 would be necessary if, and only if, the voters of Santa Clara approve a stadium through a June vote, and if and only if the City Council chooses to use SB 43. Thank you, Madam President. The 49ers have had a 20-year presence in Santa Clara with their training facility, the city in which I live, and SB 43 simply gives the city an additional tool for building the team a new stadium. The bill is supported by the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, as well as the State Building and Construction Trades Council. It is also supported by the mayor and vice mayor of the city. Yesterday, SB 43 passed out of Senate Local Government Committee on a unanimous vote of 5-0. I ask for your concurrence in Assembly amendments.
Senator Cox.
Madam President, members, I rise in support of this bill. We heard this bill yesterday, and you have just heard all the details and the facts about this program. Members, I think the most important thing is that the people of Santa Clara really are the ones who will make the decision about whether or not a stadium is built. It won't make much difference what this legislature has to say. It really is up to them to make that decision. But I did say to the members that if for some reason the folks of that area decided that they really didn't want the San Francisco 49ers, that I honestly believed that Sacramento would take those 49ers, and I thought that the Sacramento 49ers had a great ring to it. And if, in fact, Sacramento, for some reason, was uninterested, I felt reasonably comfortable that little suburb that I live in, the Fair Oaks folks, would like to have the Fair Oaks 49ers. And so, having heard all the details yesterday, I would encourage you to vote aye on this measure.
Is there any other discussion or debate? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Aye. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Dutton? Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Leno, no. Liu? Lowenthal? Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Aye. Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? Smidian? Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Steinberg, aye. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? Aye. Yee. Denham, aye. Ducheney, aye. Smidian, aye. Correa, no. Calderon, aye.
Ayes 30, noes 3.
Dutton, aye. Lowenthal, aye.
Ayes 32, noes 3. Senator Alquist moves a call. Members, I had indicated that health was meeting. That is not the case. I made a mistake. It is actually Human Services that is meeting as we speak. So while Human Services is meeting, all bills will be on call. Senator Cedillo, under privileges of the floor.
Yes, Madam Chair, members, if I may, we have a colleague of ours from the Assembly who has joined us, one of the most popular members, both houses, both sides of the aisle. Anthony Pachetti is here with us, but he's here with us with a guest. It's a great honor to introduce a friend to the state of California when we think business is leaving. we have with us Donna Morea, who is visiting us from Fairfax, Virginia. We want to keep her here. She's the president of U.S. operations for CGI, an information technology and business process services firm. Please join us in welcoming to California Donna Morea, asking her to stay.
Under privileges of the floor, Senator Hancock, for what purpose do you rise?
To request immediate transmittal to the Assembly of AB 1053, which was passed previously by this body.
Desk will note, under motions and resolutions, without objection, all bills reported out of committees today will be given their second reading when reported. Senator Leno, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Thank you, Madam President. I have a letter of intent regarding AB 631 from 2006 to be placed in the Journal. This has been cleared by both sides of the aisle.
Okay. Please bring to the desk.
Thank you.
Senator Ashburn, for what purpose do you rise?
Madam President, I'd like to present file item 139.
Senator Ashburn, we're going to pass on this temporarily. File item 142, Senator Steinberg, not at his desk. File item 143, Senator Wolk, are you prepared? Pass temporarily. File item 145, Senator Leno. Senator Leno, file item 145. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 792 by Senator Leno, an act relating to tidelands and submerged lands.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, this is a district bill which will expand the park system in San Francisco, historic ways, more expansion than any time since the creation of Golden Gate Park. There are a number of amendments taken in the Assembly, most significantly amendments which have removed the opposition of the Sierra Club, another environmental justice group called Arc Ecology, along with a neighborhood group called Friends of Candlestick. And with that, the bill passed off the Assembly floor 69-1. I would ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Ashburn? Aye. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Leno? Or, excuse me, Huff? Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? Strickland, aye. Walters, aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee. Correa, aye. Benoit, no to aye. Oropesa, aye.
Ayes 33, no 0. Senator Leno moves a call. File item 146, Senator Leno. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 802 by Senator Leno, an act relating to works of improvement.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, this bill will benefit small businesses throughout California by capping the amount of retention which can be withheld on public works projects to no more than 5%. A number of amendments were taken in the Assembly. Most importantly, however, the amendments include a 2014 sunset, which removes the opposition of the Los Angeles Unified School District and the Coalition for Adequate School Housing. The bill has received extraordinary bipartisan support, I would ask for your aye vote today. Concurrence on the Assembly amendments.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Ashburn? Aye. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. Dusanier? Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? No. Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Aye. Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Smidian? Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? Aye. Yee. Correa? Aye. Smidian? Aye. Dusanier? Aye.
Ayes 34, noes 0. Senator Leno moves a call. Senator Lowenthal, under motions and resolutions.
Thank you. I'm going to ask for unanimous consent to send Senate Bill 193 back to the Assembly for further action.
Without objection, consent granted. File item 147, Senator Ducheney. Are you prepared to take this item up at this time? Secretary, please read.
Let me just do this one.
Senate Bill 816 by Senator Ducheney, enact relating to taxation.
Thank you very much. Madam President and members, this bill will improve the discovery and reappraisable changes in ownership, reducing the number of assessments that go uncounted. It is sponsored by the California Assessors Association. It is back on concurrence with a very technical amendment adopted in the Assembly at the request of the Department of Finance to avoid any reimbursable mandate. The bill is supported not only by the sponsor Assessors Association, but also Cal Chamber Business Tax Properties, CalTax, many other business entities, and the League of Women Voters. It will improve our collection of sales tax throughout the state, property tax, members throughout the state. Ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Ashburn? Aye. Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? No. Dusanier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? No. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Hollingsworth? No. Huff? Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? No. Oh. Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? No. Wiggins? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? Yee. Flores, no to aye. Benoit, aye. Huff, no. Correa, no. Strickland, no. Weiland, no.
Call the absent members.
Wiggins, aye. Alquist. Cogdill. Harmon. Liu. Oropesa. Runner, Steinberg, Yee.
Ayes 23.
Harmon, no.
Ayes 23, noes 10. Senator Ducheney moves a call. File item 148, Senator Negrete McLeod. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 820 by Senator Negrete McLeod, an act relating to healing arts.
Thank you, Madam President. Member, SB 820. The Assembly amendments make various changes relating to the peer review process for physicians and to the medical board reporting process for final disciplinary actions taken by a peer review body against a physician. It provides for an earlier reporting requirement that will allow the medical board to move ahead with its own independent investigation of a physician who has caused patient death or harm, or who was involved in substance abuse or excessive prescribing or furnishing of drugs, or found to be involved in sexual misconduct with a patient. The measure has had bipartisan support and is also supported by the California Medical Association and Kaiser Permanente. I ask for you to approve the co-concurrence of the Assembly amendments.
Is there any discussion or debate? Senator Onestad.
Chair, members, I am proud to be a co-author of this bill. This bill strengthens peer review finally by allowing earlier involvement of the medical board when incompetence or substance abuse or misconduct endangers patients. It protects the due process rights of professionals. It has received the support of the Medical Board of California, the California Medical Association, and Kaiser Permanente. Folks, I guess the way to sum this up is finally we have a bill that's not for doctors. It isn't a bill for lawyers. This is a peer review bill for the patients, and I would respectfully urge your aye vote.
Secretary, is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 40, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. Members, pursuant to Senate Rule 29.10, file item 139, Senate Bill 519 is referred to the Rules Committee. File item 140, Senator Kehoe. Secretary, please read. Fi 149, Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 555 by Senator Kehoe, an act relating to eminent domain.
Thank you, members. For the purpose of concurrence, Madam President, this bill provides conservation easement holders with earlier notice of an opportunity to be heard in the existing eminent domain process regarding their conservation easements. Assembly amendments remove some opposition, including that of Cal Chamber and California Forestry Association. The bill is supported by MWD, San Diego County Water Authority, East Bay Mud, and numerous environmental organizations, Outdoor Heritage Alliance. I would ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate on this item? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onestad? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Aye. Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Correa, no. Calderon, aye. Benoit, aye. Denham, no. Maldonado, no. Lowenthal, aye.
May I move an item? All right.
Ayes 24, noes 11. Senator Kehoe moves a call. Senator Kehoe, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Madam Chair, to move file item 103, AB 226, by Mr. Ruskin to the inactive at his request.
File item 103 to inactive. Desk will note.
Thank you.
File item 138, Senator Hancock. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 83 by Senator Hancock, an act relating to traffic congestion.
Thank you, Madam President and members. SB 83 is an issue that we heard previously during this session. It authorizes a countywide transportation planning agency to place on the ballot for voter approval a local measure that would increase the vehicle license fee up to $10 on each vehicle to mitigate congestion and environmental impacts caused by motor vehicles. It requires the board to adopt at a public meeting a resolution, an expenditure plan, and findings that the programs and projects bear a relationship and benefit to the motorists paying the fee and are consistent with the regional transportation plan. As communities throughout California are struggling with the drastic cuts to transportation and highway maintenance and improvement, this is a measure giving local communities a choice to place before the voters a way to help them meet their transportation goals. I would ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? No. Cedillo? Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? No. Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? No. Negrete McLeod? No. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wright? Aye. Weiland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Cedillo, aye. Oropesa, aye. Benoit, no. Calderon, aye. Wolk, aye. That's 37 votes right here.
Ayes 22, noes 15. Senator Hancock moves a call. Members, under motions and resolutions without objection, Senate Rule 29.3 will be waived so that AB 122 may be amended in the Education Committee. Senator Cedillo, are you prepared to take up file item 122? Secretary, please read. On the regular file, file item 122.
Assembly Bill 962 by Assemblymember De Leon, an act relating to ammunition.
Members who have a concern and commitment about public safety, I bring you a very reasoned and simple bill for your communities and for your families. AB 962 will require that handgun ammunition vendors keep a log of persons who purchase handgun ammunition. It will require handgun ammunition vendors to store their ammunition safely. Third, it will require all handgun ammunition purchases to be face-to-face, transparent. And finally, the bill would make it against the law to knowingly sell handgun ammunition to felons or other dangerous persons prohibited from owning or possessing guns or ammunition. Members, a very simple bill that provides some protections for our communities and our families, but does not encumber those who desire to purchase ammunition in any way more than we encumber people who aspire to buy cans of paint, laughing gas, ephedrine, or other products. They must be recorded and they must be secured. We want that because we want our communities to be safe and our families to be safe. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Senator Dutton.
Yeah, Madam President and members, it's true that we have a deep concern for the public safety. That's the reason why we're concerned about early release of inmates and things of that nature. However, this bill, like a lot of other type of legislation geared towards taking the ability of individuals to defend themselves out of their capability, doesn't really solve the purpose, because the reality is the only people that are going to abide by this law are the ones you don't have problems with anyway. The bad guys still aren't going to care. They still isn't going to solve the problem. And so what I would suggest you take a look at, I mean, this sets up a lot of roadblocks and things, but the only people that you're going to affect the lives of are the innocent Californians who want the ability to be able to defend themselves, who want the ability for protection. It's not going to eliminate the crimes necessary. There's a lot of things that are already provided for in state law that aren't even being done. And so now what we're doing is just going to add one more additional thing to make some people feel good, like they're actually going out there and creating some type of vehicle that's really going to take all the guns in the world off the streets, and that's just not going to happen. The ammunition bill, this will just create a black market, create a more opportunity for these things to be sold in that underground economy that everybody always talks about. And so I would encourage a no vote on this. This does not solve the problem.
Senator Denham.
Yeah, and looking at our analysis, I guess we're just trying to figure out exactly what this is going to solve. This is a law that has already been on the books on the federal level. Yet for 18 years, from 1968 to 1986, there wasn't any code or law that was being broken that this served to satisfy. So ATF revoked the law. Now we're trying to implement it once again. So I would ask the author exactly what we're trying to solve here, and out of all of the provisions in this, how specifically it's going to deter gang members from committing crimes on our streets.
Senator Cedillo, you may close.
Well, I don't know if I want to say no harm, no foul, or just that it's interesting, the arguments of agnosticism. Am I in my close, or am I?
This is your close.
But let me say this to you. I trust Police Chief Bill Bratton, and I trust LA County Sheriff Lee Baca, and I trust all the law enforcement officers who endorse this. Now, we can argue about the behavior of individuals and whether or not whatever law we create stops people who are going to break the law anyway, and whether or not we have the capacity legally to stop bad people from doing wrong things. But this isn't really just a question of argument. This is a question that we can measure and a question of fact. So there's two facts here. One, we know that in this legislature we vote and pass legislation all the time that attempts to encumber the conduct of consumers and their activity. So we know that, for example, we've passed SB 484 by Senator Wright, and it was an effort to stop pseudoephedrine from being available. We know recently we passed from Assemblymember Torlakson, SB 1015, a bill that prevented the sale of nitrous oxide, laughing gas. We know that we just passed off this floor with a huge margin, a bill by Assemblymember Fuhr, AB 91. That bill put locks on people who drink and drive. In fact, I even have before me the code that prevents us from selling spray paint. Clearly, the sale of bullets and the harm done by bullets must rise to the level of the dangers that we believe these prohibitions create. And so, with that, I only refer you to what we know from experience and fact. And we know that the city of Sacramento, post the period that has been stated, has used this law, that this is based upon legislation for the city of Los Angeles and the city of Sacramento. And we know that, in fact, in 12 months, with this Sacramento ordinance, that the law enforcement community was able to track down 192 individuals who were prohibited from purchasing ammunition. 151 of these individuals had felony convictions. 15 of them were gang members. 44 were on probation. 41 were second strikers, and 2 of them were third strikers. 4 were sex offenders, and 2 had been to prison for murder. Now, I think, and I've heard on this floor many instances, that if this law helps one person, prevents one crime, that we should pass this law. And here we have an abundance of demonstrated fact that this law is effective and works. It works for the people of Sacramento. It works for the people of Los Angeles. The state of California deserves no less, and I encourage you to pass this reasonable, rational, and proven legislation for the people of California. I ask for an aye vote.
Senator Denham, is this a question for the author after he is closed, or the floor manager?
Absolutely. It's another question because my last one were questions that didn't get answered, but I'll ask a separate questions from those that didn't get answered last time. Basically the criminals that you're talking about, the so-called gang members that you found in your audit, the sex offenders you found in their audit, these repeat offenders that I assume would go back to prison. So you're presenting a law that will now send these individuals back to prison and then pass a prison bill that will let them out. That's my question. Will those same individuals that you're now going to lock up on a new crime be let out on the very same bill that you're proposing to be satisfied in this session?
Senator Cedillo, do you wish to address that question?
Well, with all laws, Senator, only if they qualify.
Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Benoit? No. Calderon? Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? No. Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Ducheney, no. Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? No. Negrete McLeod? No. Oropesa? Aye. Padilla? Pavley? Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? Semidian? Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? No. Weiland? No. Yee? Runner, no. Calderon, no.
Ayes 15, noes 19. Senator Cedillo moves a call. Members, we are going to lift calls at this point. And is there any other member who has an item who wishes to take up any issue that's on the regular file, Senate concurrence, Assembly third reading file, or on the supplemental file that is eligible to be taken up at this time? We are then now going to lift calls. We have a special consent calendar. We have a ward consent calendar. File item 48, Senator Corbett, Secretary, call the absent members.
Ashburn, Benoit, Cogdill, Cox, Denham, Harmon, Huff, Maldonado, Oropesa, I, Padilla, I, Runner, Steinberg, Strickland, Weiland.
Call the absent members. This is a 2/3 measure.
Ashburn, Benoit, Cogdill, Cox, Denham, Harmon, Huff, Maldonado, Runner, Steinberg, Strickland, Weiland.
Ayes 23, noes 5. Senator Corbett replaces the call. File item 59, Senator Flores. Secretary, please read.
Onnested, Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, I, Cogdill, Cox, Denham, Dutton, Harmon, Huff, Maldonado, Oropesa, I, Runner, Smidian, Steinberg, Strickland, Walters, Weiland.
Senator Flores replaces the call. Members, we want to recognize our colleague, Senator, Assemblywoman as well, Betty Carnett. File item 116, call the absent members.
Onnested, Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, I, Cogdill, Corbett, I, Correa, DeSaulnier, I, Flores, I, Harmon, Negrete McLeod, I, Oropesa, I, Runner, Strickland, Walters, Weiland. Benoit, I.
Call the absent members. This is a 2/3 vote.
Benoit, I to no. Correa, no. Onnested, Ashburn, Cogdill, Harmon, Runner, Strickland, Walters, Weiland. DeSaulnier, I to no.
Ayes 24, noes 8. The Senator Price replaces the call. File item 57, Ducheney, call the absent members.
Onnested, Calderon, I, Corbett, I, Correa, Flores, I, Negrete McLeod, I, Oropesa, Walters, no. Weiland, no. Yee, I, Correa, I, Oropesa, aye. Onnested, no.
Ayes 26, noes 14. The amendments are concurred in. File item 76. Call the absent members.
Onnested, no. Ashburn, Calderon, aye. Cedillo, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, Ducheney, Flores, aye. Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, aye. Walters, no. Wyland, Yee. Yee, aye. Ashburn, no. Ducheney, aye. Correa, aye. Maldonado, aye.
Ayes 26, noes 13. The resolution is adopted. File item 43. Call the absent members.
Cedillo, aye. Ducheney, Flores, aye. Padilla, aye.
Ayes 22, noes 17. The amendments are concurred in. File item 94. Call the absent members.
Ducheney, Flores, Romero, aye. Steinberg,
Romero, aye to no.
Flores, no. Romero, aye to no.
Ayes 19, noes 19. Senator Hancock replaces the call. File item 140. Call the absent members.
Cedillo, Cogdill, Ducheney, Dutton, Flores, aye. Hollingsworth, Lowenthal, aye. Padilla, aye. Price, aye. Smidian, aye. Strickland, no. Yee, aye. Hollingsworth, no. Correa, Cedillo, aye. Dutton, no. Ducheney, aye. Cogdill, no. Denham,
Ayes 26, noes 14. The amendments are concurred in. File item 141. Call the absent members.
Cedillo, Cogdill, Denham, Ducheney, Flores, aye. Hollingsworth, Lou, Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, no. Padilla, aye. Price, aye. Runner, no. Yee, aye. Cogdill, no. Denham, no. Hollingsworth, no. Cedillo, aye.
Call the absent members.
Ducheney, Lou.
Ayes 20, noes 18. Senator Leno replaces the call. File item 150. Call the absent members.
Cogdill, Lou, Negrete McLeod, Runner, aye. Yee. Cogdill, aye.
Ayes 34, noes 3. The amendments are concurred in.
Ye, no.
Ayes 34, noes 4. The amendments are concurred in. File item 145, call the absent members.
Alquist. Aye. Cogdill. Aye. Huff. Aye. Lou. Runner. Aye. Steinberg. Ye. Ye, no.
Ayes 37, noes 1. The amendments are concurred in. File item 146, call the absent members.
Alquist. Aye. Cogdill. Aye. Lou. Runner. Aye. Steinberg. Ye. Ye, aye.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. File item 147, call the absent members.
Alquist. Aye. Cogdill. Aye. Lou. Oropesa. Aye. Runner. No. Steinberg. Ye. Ye, aye.
Ayes 27, noes 11. The amendments are concurred in. File item 149, call the absent members.
Cogdill. Aye. Hollingsworth. Negrete McLeod. Runner. Runner, no. Steinberg. Maldonado, no to aye.
Ayes 26, noes 11. The amendments are concurred in. File item 138, call the absent members.
Cogdill, no. Steinberg. Strickland.
Ayes 22, noes 16.
Strickland, no.
Ayes 22, noes 17. The amendments are concurred in. File item 122, call the absent members.
Harmon. Padilla. Pavley. Smidian. Steinberg. Aye. Ye. Ye, aye. Pavley, aye. Padilla, aye. Smidian, aye.
Call the absent members.
Harmon. Someone has to.
Ayes 20, noes 19. Senator Cedillo replaces the call. Members, we have a special consent calendar, file items 131 to 137. Is there any objection to using our unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 40, noes 0. The special consent calendar is adopted. We also have a warped consent calendar. Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 40, noes 0. The warped consent calendar is adopted. Senator Wolk, file item 82. Secretary, please read. File item 82.
Yes.
Assembly Bill 566 by Assemblymember Nava, an act relating to mobile home parks.
Madam President, this is here for reconsideration. This involves a loophole that has been exploited in recent years by some mobile home park owners who wish to subdivide and sell a park against the wishes of the local government and those who own the homes. This is to empower local government and give the residents a voice in the conversion process. I ask for your vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Aye. Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? I. Ducheney. Dutton. No. Flores. I. Hancock. I. Harmon. Hollingsworth. Huff. No. Kehoe. I. Leno. I. Liu. Lowenthal. I. Maldonado. Negrete McLeod. Oropesa. I. Padilla. I. Pavley. I. Price. I. Romero.
Aye.
I. Runner. Smidian. I. Steinberg. I. Strickland. Walters. No. Wiggins. I. Wolk. I. Wright. Wyland. No. Yee. Yee. No. Okay.
Call the absent members.
Calderon. I. To no.
Members will call the absent members.
Benoit. Cedillo. I. Correa. I. Ducheney. I. Harmon. Hollingsworth. No. Liu. Maldonado. No. Negrete McLeod. Runner. No. Strickland. No. Wright.
Ayes 21, noes 14. The bill is passed. Senator Steinberg, are you prepared to take up? Are you prepared to take up file item 142 on the supplemental file or file item 17, governor's appointments?
Yes.
File item 17, governor's appointments. Please proceed.
You here? Wait, hold on.
A very distinguished welcome to our colleague, Mr. Jerome Horton. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I think that sign of applause is probably a good sign for the nominee here. I'm pleased to bring before the full Senate the appointment of Jerome Horton as a nominee for the Board of Equalization District 4. We all know Jerome, and many of us had the privilege of serving with him in the California State Assembly. The governor, of course, has appointed him to the seat. Hold on here. The seat vacated by the Honorable Judy Chu, who is now a member of Congress. Yesterday, the Rules Committee voted 5-0 to approve Jerome Horton's nomination to be confirmed as a member of the Board of Equalization. And I must tell you that Jerome elicited incredibly strong support from many of the communities of California. And he made the commitment to us, as is his character, to work hard, to be diligent about listening to both sides of every case, and to representing all the people of California fairly. I support his nomination, and I urge all of my colleagues in the Senate to do the same.
Is there any discussion or debate? Senator Strickland?
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I would like to join Senator Steinberg in the support for my good friend Jerome Horton. I've known Jerome for a very long time. Where is he? Anyways, I've known Jerome for a very long time. We first met when he was a staff member for the Board of Equalization, and we worked together in the State Assembly He was chair of the GO committee. I was vice chair. And I will tell you this, from the Republican persuasion as well as the Democratic persuasion, his word's his bond. He works with you. He tries to fix and solve problems for the people of California. And I know that he'll do a tremendous job as the next Board of Equalization member, and I wholeheartedly support his nomination.
Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Madam President. I, too, colleagues, rise in support of the confirmation, and particularly just want to go on the record in appreciation of discussion that was it Board Member Horton, or soon to be Board Member Horton, and I have had, following up on his legacy of some of the legislation he's championed when he was in the Assembly pertaining to tobacco licensing and sales. It was certainly a pioneering policy work when it was first achieved. We've learned much of its success and learned much of the opportunity to build upon it that I hope to work closely with him in the next legislative year and beyond. So I rise in support and would encourage an aye vote.
Senator Calderon.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to rise in support of BOE Commissioner Horton. I want to say that I don't think it was any secret that we were both vying for the position. I have to say that I do not agree with the process that was used to arrive at the result, but I must say that I am pleased with the result. I want Mr. Horton to know he's got my help and assistance anytime he needs it. We look forward to seeing you push a pro-growth policy in this state and to further change policy in the BOE, not to presume that a business is guilty until proven innocent. So I look forward to working with you, Mr. Horton. Congratulations. Fight well won and a job well done. I urge his aye vote.
Senator Wyland.
Madam President, members, I also got to know Jerome fairly well when he sat close to me in the Assembly, and I'd just like to say, even though we sometimes disagreed, that he's someone I respect and trust, and I'm pleased that he will be on the BOE.
Senator Steinberg, you may close.
Once again, thank you, colleagues. I urge the membership to cast an aye vote for Jerome Horton as a new member of the State Board of Equalization.
Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 40, noes 0. The nominee is confirmed. Congratulations. Members, we have a few items remaining on call. This will be the final lift, and then the desk will be clear. File item 48. Members, this will be the final run-through. File item 48. Call the absent members.
Ashburn, Benoit, Cogdill, Cox, Denham, Harmon, Huff, Maldonado, Runner, Steinberg, I, Strickland, Wyland, Runner, aye to no.
Read a blank, scribbled it on it
Ayes 24, noes 6. The measure fails. Without objection, reconsideration granted. Ayes 40, noes 0. File item 59. Call the absent members.
Onnested, Ashburn, Benoit, Cogdill,
2/3.
Cox, Denham, Dutton, Harmon, Huff, Maldonado, Runner, Smidian, I, Steinberg, I, Strickland, Walters, Wyland.
Ayes 24, noes 2. The measure fails. Without objection, reconsideration granted. Ayes 40, noes 0. File item 116. Call the absent members.
Onnested, Ashburn, Cogdill, Harmon, Runner, Strickland, Walters, Wyland.
Ayes 24, noes 8. The measure fails. Without objection, reconsideration granted. Ayes 40, noes 0. File item 94. Call the absent members.
DeCheney, Steinberg. Steinberg, aye.
Ayes 20, noes 19. The measure fails. Without objection, reconsideration. This measure is not eligible for reconsideration. The measure fails. File item 141, Senator Leno's. Call the absent members.
DeCheney, Lou. Lou, aye. No. Majority.
Ayes 21, noes 18. The amendments are concurred in. File item 122. Call the absent members.
Harmon.
Ayes 20, no.
Calderon, no to aye.
Ayes 21, noes 18. The bill is passed. Members, without objection, Senate Rule 29.3 will be waived to allow for amendments to be processed beyond the floor deadline for AB 569, AB 717, AB 1318. Senator Steinberg, the desk is clear. Senator Cedillo, for what purpose do you rise?
Madam Chair, I have, Madam President, I have 3 resolutions that are available to be heard.
These are the wharfed items?
Correct.
Cleared on both sides?
Correct.
Please proceed. What is the first item?
First item.
SCR 58. Secretary, please read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 58 by Senator Cedillo relative to hate speech.
Members, this should merit unanimous consent and be a bipartisan measure. SCR 58 is a resolution that condemns the increase of hate speech in the media and the negative effects it has on all Californians of all ethnicities. It also encourages fair and accurate reporting as well as equal access to counter one-sided hate speech in the media and in particular hate speech on television, radio, cable, and the internet. Studies show a correlation between hate speech in the media and hate crimes against Latinos. And most recently, an FBI report documents that Latinos comprise 62.8% of victims of crime motivated by bias towards victims' ethnicity or national origin, an increase 35% in the mere last 3 years. The media plays a critical role in how the United States Latino population is portrayed, including how Latinos are represented and depicted in society. The increase in hate speech in the media is having a profoundly negative impact on the civil rights of Latinos and societies as a whole. This resolution condemns it. I ask you to concur.
Is there any objection to using the Senator Runner?
it seems to me this is worthy of a discussion. In the idea that I think we all understand and have dealt with the issue of hate speech when it deals with the issue of additional penalties, when it comes to the issue of activities of danger on a person's body, those issues. But, you know, I'm afraid that this just crosses a line of what is just really just political free speech. The ability to just disagree all of a sudden could be identified as hate. You know, I'm very concerned that this is beyond just the idea of what it is that we oftentimes deal with in regards to expressing an opinion, one that we may not hold true to ourselves, but yet at the same time feel like it's worthy of the discussion. And I think that I'm very concerned that this is a chill that is what it is that I believe that makes this nation great, the ability to disagree. And again, this is different than when we talk about the issue of hate crime. I understand that, and that's wrong. But the idea of identifying hate speech, I think, is a chill to what it is that we celebrate in the issue of America and just the ability to express opinion. So I'd ask for a no vote.
Senator Harman.
Thank you, Madam President. A question of the author, if I could, please. Senator Cedillo, in our Republican analysis, there is no indication of support or opposition. I was wondering if you have any indication that you could give to the members of who might be in support and who might not be, particularly in the area of media and broadcast industry and law enforcement, things of that nature.
The genesis of this comes from studies and people who work in this area who are concerned. The National Hispanic Media Coalition, just documenting this. This comes from, as I said, and I, as an American, encourage and protect the First Amendment. Former member of the ACLU, board member, plaintiff, staff. But there's a difference between free speech and hate speech. And I think the FBI has done its job in documenting that hate crimes have risen toward the Latino community. That hate crimes emerge from hate speech. And so I don't have any qualms with Senator Runner having a different opinion than mine on those occasions that he does, or anyone else on this floor having a different opinion. And I'm a fervent advocate for the protections of free speech and the First Amendment. But this is not about that. This is about hate speech. And this is about the adverse impacts it has on us as policymakers and as our society in general. And so I ask for an aye.
Senator Onestad.
Madam President, members, I'm not going to be voting for this resolution. And I don't think that we should go down this slippery slope of identifying single communities. There isn't a person in this room who supports hate speech. And yet, I don't think that we should sit here as a body and single out the Latino community without remembering the black community or remembering any community based on race or religion or national origin. I think that what we can support collectively as a body is a resolution against hate speech, against any community or any individual. And you'd have a unanimous roll call. But when we start going down the slippery slope, you know, at what point do the Norwegian Americans get their day in court? I think it's a dangerous way to go. And the fact of the matter is, why don't we amend this resolution to include hate speech in any form against any community or any individual and not make it specific to one single entity? I think that's the wrong way to go.
Senator Wyland.
Madam President, members, I understand Senator Cedillo's vigorous attempts to celebrate and elevate and be what he considers fair to the Latino community in this state. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate his views, and understand, I think, where he's coming from. But I think we have to be extremely careful in a couple of areas. And as I read the whereases, in a couple of the whereases, there are specific policy views mentioned. And I think any fair reading of the history of the Constitution and the history of those who wrote it and the history of those who settled this country gives rise to the First Amendment. And its basic cause, its basic thrust, its basic genesis was political speech. So that all of us here, if we were paying the Duke as peasants on his land, a tax we thought was unfair, we could not gather and criticize him. It's the genesis of habeas corpus, it's the genesis of trial by peers, all those sorts of things. And I do agree with Senator Onestad. I think perhaps it could be rewritten. None of us would condone what might be considered hate speech. But it's very difficult to define. Some universities have tried. I believe Stanford tried. And their law school immediately said, you know, you just can't do this. It's very difficult to do. So even though I think the intent is well-meaning, and some of the observations are absolutely true, I'm amazed when I turn on the television and don't see more programs that feature Latinos. There's one. It's on reruns. It's a great comedy. And I agree with him about that. But I just don't think this is the right vehicle to make that statement.
Senator Cedillo, you may close.
I thank my colleagues for their consideration. I only refer them to the FBI. It's not a liberal organization. I don't think anyone would say that. They have their studies. They have the results of their studies. But I would also ask you to consider one act here on the floor most recently. I agree with you that we should all be treated equally, fairly, and the same. And I have a plethora of proposals that attempt to do that. But just recently, we voted to distinguish U.S. citizens based upon their parents. 6:30 in the morning, we did that here on this floor. I don't think we ever would have had that debate in a different atmosphere and in a different circumstance and a different time. And so for that reason, I ask you for an aye vote.
Secretary, call the roll.
Onestad, Alquist, aye. Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, aye. Cedillo, aye. Cogdill, no. Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. Cox, Denham, no. DeSaulnier, aye. DeCheney, aye. Dutton, no. Flores, aye. Hancock, aye. Harmon, Hollingsworth, no. Huff, no. Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, aye. Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero, aye. Runner, no. Smidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, Walters, no. Wiggins, aye. Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Weiland, No. Yee. Yee, aye. Ashburn, no.
Ayes 26, noes 9. The resolution is adopted. Next item, Senator Cedillo.
Well, another one I hope for.
Senator Cedillo, what's the item?
It's SJR 19.
SJR 19. Secretary, please read.
Senate Joint Resolution 19 by Senator Cedillo relative to immigration.
Well, members, another one with anticipation for bipartisan support. Now, members, at a recent meeting, President Barack Obama and the leadership from Canada and Mexico, the president announced that immigration reform legislation would have to wait to 2010. This resolution urges the Congress and the President of the United States to declare an immediate moratorium on the aggressive, unprecedented enforcement of employer sanctions, which include excessive audits, the expanded use of E-Verify, and the expansion of police-ICE collaboration and immigration raids. Members, with much hope, I campaigned for President Obama with an expectation that we would address the questions of immigration as they affect our nation. We are a nation of immigrants, and we are a nation of laws, and we must reconcile those. And the time to act is now. We cannot speak of resolving our economic crisis, our health and security concerns, without addressing the interwoven issues of immigration and immigration reform. Our nation today needs to implement a comprehensive reform of our immigration laws with a comprehensive program that recognizes the broad contributions that immigrants have made and continue to make and will make to the fabric of this nation and to our economy. If we can have reform this year, we must then request relief in the form of a moratorium of the enforcement-only policy that has become the immigration policy of the Barack administration. Today, in cities throughout the state of California, raids, deportations, E-Verify, and prolonged detentions are disrupting our communities and dividing our families. In downtown Los Angeles, places like Overhill Farms that does packaging for much of the products we see in our supermarkets, or the most American of companies, American Apparel, that makes T-shirts and sportswear, 10,000 employees, are disrupted by E-Verify and have the prospect of losing 20% of their workforce. Members, we have a policy that's disrupting our economy and dividing our communities and separating families. That policy does not work. And it doesn't matter whether that policy is Republican or Democrat. What matters is it doesn't work. We are a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants, and we must have immigration reform policy that reconciles that today. If we can't, then we must insist that we don't have an enforcement-only policy because it's inconsistent with the campaign of the president and it's inconsistent with our values as Americans. I ask for an aye vote.
Senator Wyland.
I think just briefly, Madam President, members, we sort of covered this. I think a more appropriate resolution would be make a law. Make a law, because it's the fundamental basis of the society. And I think many of us, and certainly I, if we brought in all those folks who are here and created the famous path to citizenship, the majority of those would be Latinos, and I would say, bienvenidos. You know, you're here. We all know they often say, estamos aquí, and they don't want to go anywhere. But we just need the law. So I think I understand and appreciate that disruption, and I think the reason is we don't have the law. You know, this is the same thing. I come from Italian heritage where they were called every name in the book, where my grandmother was told she could not be a teacher because she was Italian. Luckily, we've gone way, way, way beyond that. But I would hope that the message we send is don't delay, make the law. You're working on health insurance, the next thing ought to be make the law, and we'll follow that law. And welcome, and if it brings in new citizens, welcome.
Senator Runner.
My friend Senator Cedillo is certainly bringing us some challenges this afternoon as we conclude here. Opportunities. I think the issue that I guess I would, and I think many of my colleagues, and I think many of my constituents and many of the citizens of California would basically say is, I'd appreciate Senator Wyland's thoughts about making the law in regards to some clarity, but the reality is we have law. We do have law. We have law and process. And that's what it is that we need to stand behind. Now, I appreciate the fact that we have had some very inconsistent application of that law. And as a result of that, we have created some very difficult challenges here, not only in the state of California, but in many other states across this nation. I believe that's because we have been ineffective in approaching how it is that we apply the current law. I believe if we would have fair law application to our current immigration laws, that would be much fairer than what we currently have. I think we give terrible notice to people when it is that we have law in place and we don't enforce it. As a result of that, I can appreciate and understand where it is somebody who's looking for opportunity for themselves and their family see America as just that place. And so they risk themselves in coming to be a part of that opportunity. Unfortunately, in many places and in many ways, that's an illegal activity. It is not according to the law of this nation. But we have not enforced those laws vigorously in order to protect individuals, I think, sometimes from making that decision. So the answer to me is enforce the laws. Let's make it clear. And when we have an employer who is breaking the law, who is hiring an individual who they shouldn't be hiring, they should be prosecuted. That's what the law is. We are a nation of immigrants. You know, we can all tell our own personal stories. They may go back 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years. But we are clearly a nation of immigrants. But I know how it was the process to which my family immigrated. And what I would want us to do is clearly enforce the law. That is what's fair. That's what's fair to Americans. That's what's fair to Californians. And quite frankly, that's what's fair to others. Because we currently have many immigrants around this world who are looking to come into our nation. And they are going through the process correctly. We need everyone to do that. I appreciate the concern, and I know that we've created a problem, but it's one that we can solve by a fair application of current law. I'd ask for a no vote.
Senator Cedillo, you may close.
I concur with the comments of my colleague, Senator Wyland. We agree. And I think it's an argument for an aye vote. It's with trepidation and hesitation I come forward to criticize the president of our country, somebody I campaigned for in 3 states, someone who I support enthusiastically. But the fact of the matter is, and I think Senator Runner said the same thing, our system is broken and we need reform. We need laws that can be enforced. We are a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants. We need to reconcile that to match up with our economic, our social, and civic realities. And we have not done that. Now, that issue is as important to our economy and our way of life and to the issues that confront us. Health care, economic stimulus. Here in this building, we talk about water for industries that rely on the very immigrants we're talking about, who need an opportunity to live here, drive here, study here legally. And that's all this resolution does, is say to the president, we need you to act, to put this at the front of your agenda. And until you do, it is not appropriate for us to disrupt the economic stability of our nation and to divide communities and separate families. I ask for an aye vote.
Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Aye. Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Smidian? Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Alquist, aye.
Ayes 22, noes 14. The resolution is adopted. Final measure, Senator Cedillo. Okay, there is no other measure. Senator Steinberg. Senator Correa, for what purpose do you rise?
Under motions and resolutions for announcement, purposes of announcement, PERS Committee hearing, room 3103, immediately following adjournment.
Is there any other item under motions? Senator Alquist.
Yes, thank you. Health Committee will be meeting tomorrow, not today.
Health Committee will meet tomorrow. Do we have a time, or will it be off the floor?
Off the floor.
Off the floor
yet.
at the
Thank
call
you.
of the chair. Members, when we adjourn today, the desk will remain open until the business of the day is completed. Members, the Senate will now stand in recess until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. There will be a Democratic caucus tomorrow morning at 9:30 in the Maddie Lounge. Members, this is the final day tomorrow morning. We start at 10 a.m. I'm going to ask all members to please be prompt here in the Senate chambers at 10 a.m. Senator Cedillo?
Madam Chair, my colleague brought to my attention that I may not have spoken loudly or made it clear that I support my resolution, and the vote may not reflect that.
Just a caution to the members, you've got to listen when your name is called. You've got to call out. You may want to write a letter to the Journal indicating your support for your own resolution.
Thank you.
Senator Maldonado, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
I just, Madam President and members,
Members?
There's a gentleman who works in the garage here. His name is Officer Mike Brown. And when you pull into the garage, the gentleman goes under your car and makes sure that everything is good. He's going to go back on the road. And I just wanted to say thank you to him. I know that when he first came here, he didn't know what to expect of the job, and he's made friends with everybody. He's just a great man, and we're going to miss him.
Thank you to Officer Mike Brown. Senator Simidian.
Thank you, Madam President. At the request of the author, I'd like to ask that we move AB 499, that's file item 79, to the inactive file. Once again, file item 79, AB 499, to the inactive file at the request of the author.
The desk will note. Senator Lowenthal.
To adjourn in the memory.
Senator Lowenthal for adjournment in the memory of. Please proceed.
Members, sadly, I have to inform you that a former member of this legislature, Assemblymember Frank Vicencia, who was a member in the 70s and 80s, I believe he was the Assembly at one time was the Speaker Pro Tem of the Assembly, passed away this past week of stomach cancer. I'll have more information tomorrow. I just learned about this. It was a tremendous loss. I send my love, and I think the legislature, to his family. Michael, his son, is now a Superior Court judge in the state of California. This is a wonderful family who brought great honor to this institution. We will miss greatly Assembly Member Frank Vicencia.
Our deepest condolences, Senator Lowenthal. Members, we will now stand in recess, although the desk will remain open for the business of the day.